Hi, everyone. This week is one of my favorite kinds of meditation because it is all about eating, and we do this all the time. So I wouldn't expect everybody to do their mindful eating meditation every single time that they eat because there's so much going on. But it is something that every once in a while, it's a really nice thing to practice. So I have this slideshow for us. We're going to talk about more than just eating. We're going to talk about meditation and mindfulness as a whole and how we can use it in our everyday life. But eating will be the primary focus today. So I'm going to start with a few quotes and talk about the idea of the beginner's mind and the miraculous. The beginner's mind is a word that we use in yoga a lot. It's a word that we use in meditation. And it doesn't mean that you're always going to be a beginner, but even things that we do all the time as a routine, it is a good idea to sometimes approach it as if you are a beginner, as if it's the first time you've ever seen it. Because sometimes you pick up on things that you miss because we aren't paying attention to it as if it's the first time anymore. So Suzuki says, if your mind is empty, it is always ready for anything. It's open to everything. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few. And Albert Einstein says, there are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is though everything is a miracle. And a good case in point to illustrate this is to think about when you were walking somewhere, riding your bike somewhere that you always go. Did you ever get to the end of the destination and realize you don't really remember much of the walk or much of the ride? So when you approach your walk as a beginner or with the beginner's mind, you start to notice the grass and the sky and the wind and the plants that are growing nearby. So that's what the beginner's mind means. When we practice mindful eating and our current situation or being present, it allows us to have that same level of appreciation that we might have for the wind and the sky and the plants, but we bring that appreciation to the food and all of the flavors and all of the people that were involved in bringing that food to your table. And it gives a new sense of gratitude. And it requires a sense of gratitude, but also a sense of presence and silence as you go through this practice. So I'd like for everybody to take a snack that they were provided with, whether that's raisins, a pretzel, it could be anything. It could be a sandwich if you wanted it to be. Sometimes when we meditate, we close our eyes, but we're going to keep our eyes open for this particular one so that we can use all of our five senses. And after we're done with our meditation, I will break it down and we can talk about it a little bit more. So what I want you to do right now is to pick up your snack, whatever it is. I don't have one, so I'm using a paper towel. I won't eat it, I promise. So pick up your snack and just look at it. Roll it around in your fingers. Feel its texture. Look at how the light hits it in different ways as you move it. And really study it. How does it feel to you? Bring it up to your nose and take a deep breath in, smell it. And then exhale and do it again. Inhale and exhale. As you're breathing in, take note of how it smells. Does it smell salty, sweet? Maybe it doesn't smell like anything. Consider the smell, consider the weight. And as you do that, consider how it got here. It might be plant-based, so it required sun and water and soil and time to grow. It may have required people to cultivate it to pick it, to package, to ship it. It required somebody in a grocery store to put it on the shelf, and a different person to go shopping and buy it, maybe even another person to hand it to you. So as you consider the journey that this item of food took to get right here to your hand, have some gratitude. All of that work came just for this one little thing to be in your hand right now. And now you can go ahead and put it in your mouth. But before you chew it, just roll it around on your tongue. See if you taste anything. See if you notice the texture on your tongue, the weight. Hold it there as you inhale and exhale. And just take one bite without chewing it fully, and notice how the flavor changes as you take that one bite. Notice as it moves around in your mouth. And now you can continue taking more and more bites. But as you do, as you chew it, pay attention to how your body reacts to it, how it tastes, how your muscles feel as they are chewing, how your muscles feel as you swallow. Fully immersed in the flavor, the texture, the feeling, and the smell. And then you can go back to the rest of them if you have more than one, and you can finish them as you normally would. You don't have to do this for every single one. But that was an exercise in mindful eating. So obviously, if you're at a dinner with your family or you're out with your friends and you're having something to eat, you wouldn't want to do that, like hold it in your hand and smell it like over and over again. Your friends might think you're weird, but every once in a while, if you find yourself on your own and you have a snack, just taking the time to be aware of it and think about the journey that it took to get to you, and think about the smell and the texture and the flavor. And it's a way to be present in the moment in a small way with something that we oftentimes take for granted. You know, a lot of times when it's time to eat, we just eat as quickly as we can to get on to the next thing, and we rarely stop and appreciate it. So mindful eating is a great way to appreciate what you're doing. But also, we can eat mindfully if we're with our family and friends by, at the beginning of the meal, having a sense of gratitude for all of the hands that were involved in preparing it and getting it to you, but also when it comes to listening to the people around us. So often when people talk to us, we're thinking about the next thing to say rather than actually listening to them. So you can bring your mindfulness practice to dinner by hearing what the people around you have to say and listening to them fully instead of thinking about other things, because it's easy for your mind to be scattered. But if you have trouble finding those manners to increase your mindfulness or sense of presence when you're with other people or with you're alone, a few quick tips are to use the 5 senses to see what you're feeling in the moment, see what you are tasting or what you smell or what you can hear. And just really think about everything that's happening right now. Maybe focus on your emotions and what you're feeling in the moment on an emotional level. Do you feel sad? Do you feel happy? Do you feel tired? Do you feel energetic? And you can also try other activities such as walking or jumping rope or running, and being mindful as you do those activities as well. But it all comes down to the 5 senses and just taking into account what is happening. Meditation can be really difficult because our minds do want to go all over the place and jump back and forth. So we call that the scattered mind. And even though I've been practicing meditation for a very long time, There are days where I sit down to meditate and I absolutely cannot focus, and my mind is going from here to here, wondering what's going on with my friends, wondering what is going to happen on the TV show that I'm watching, or, all of those things enter our minds at weird times. And that's okay. That's how our mind is built. It's how we are constantly aware of what's going on around us. So we don't have to be angry with ourselves for having a scattered mind when we're trying to focus. But what we can do is practice being mindful. And if our mind wanders, just gently bringing it back. We might be thinking about unfinished business, the past, the future, but really when we are meditating, we're focusing on the present. So always coming back to those 5 senses, always coming back to listening to others and paying attention to things as if you've never seen it before as the beginner's mind. It's a great practice to do no matter what it is that you're doing. Even if you're doing something so simple as walking, we might feel our footfalls and notice how our feet feel. Notice how the wind feels against our face. And especially right now with our current situation with COVID and coronavirus happening, and we're all concerned, it's very easy for our mind to be scattered and thinking about everything that's happening in the news and to be concerned for it. So using this mindful practice to just take a moment and only focus on the present moment. All of those other things will be there when you wish to focus on them again. But taking the time to just focus on your breath, or just focus on a snack, or just focus on what your friends are saying and seeing things as if it's for the first time can help reduce the level of stress in uncertain situations. So when we focus on the breath and the body, it brings us to the present moment. And when we focus on eating, it brings us to the present moment, but we can't eat all the time, or we can't carry around a snack with us to practice our mindful eating. So we can also use the breath, and it just forms an anchor. It's something that we always have. We're always breathing. And so even if you don't have a snack to focus on, if you're not talking to anybody to focus on their words or focus on them, if you're not walking anywhere, you always have your breath. So no matter what, if you want to practice mindfulness or meditation, you can always join the group of those of us who breathe, focus on our breath, and that's all we focus on. Nothing special to it. Focus on how it feels to inhale, how it feels to exhale, and always bring your mind back to the breath if it starts to wander. Meditation is the constant act of bringing it back, bringing it back, bringing it back. So I hope you enjoyed this brief meditation on eating, but also focusing on the breath if you don't have any food around you, and just being kind to yourself when your mind starts to wander, because our minds will always wander, and that's okay. Just gently bring it back. Thank you for participating.